Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 23 of How Do You Write? And today our interview is with Jay Thorn, who you may have heard on other podcasts. He is a horror writer and he is so awesome. We just really hit it off while we were talking. We've been in communication online for a while, but we'd never sat down face to face. And basically, we're soul sister and brother. He is the metal and I am the pedal, perhaps. But I just really loved talking to him. That was such a treat. So you'll enjoy the interview. He's fascinating and he's working his butt off. And you know me, I like people who work their butts off. So he also really made me realize how much I love publishing and the people who are in it. I really think that the people who are in publishing are some of the nicest, most generous, most interesting, most awesome people that are anywhere. I've always been in and near the romance community, in which I find that to be incredibly true. And I'm just so pleased it's true kind of across the board. So let's say that. I like that a lot. Sorry, I'm a little bit slow today. As I record this, it's the day before the election. So let us hope that by the time you hear this, the entire country is not on fire. That would be horrible. But I think everybody's really, really stressed out about this one, no matter whose side you're on. And listeners, you should know I am not on Trump's side. So if that offends you, see ya. Now that they're gone, we can talk even more honestly than we already were. Yeah, I can't wait for the election to be over. I can't wait for President Clinton to be in place. And I don't know if that has something to do with it, or I don't know if I ate too much sugar, but I got a nightmare of a migraine over the weekend. The nice thing is that now that I just write, and I'm not having to go to the 911 day job and work for 56 hours. When I get a migraine, I just go to bed. I don't have kids. I just super medicate myself until basically I'm seeing tracers as I look around the room, which is mostly migraine. But so I stayed in bed for about a day and a half, and I luckily it was the kind of migraine where I could have screen time. So I watched some stupid movies and just lay low, which was kind of really nice. I did manage to write about 18,000 words last week, so I am still powering through this book of mine. And I hope that I continue to do so. It's been just kind of a lovely experience. I'm going so fast. I'm aiming for about 4,500 to 5,000 words a day, that I can keep a handle on what's going on. So I'm not constantly forgetting what has happened in the book because I just wrote it, last week. And there's been some really, really nice, pleasant surprises happening. Things that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't writing so fast. And by that, I mean, I run out of gas. I'm ready to quit. And I push myself further and I get these little Easter eggs that are popping up. I just found a hot spring in this book, and it really kind of felt like, as my character discovered the hot spring behind her brand new house, it felt like I was discovering it. It felt like the secret garden when she opens that gate and finds the garden. And it's just so fun. But I actually do realize that I'm babbling. So I did sign up for NaNoWriMo, doing it kind of as a rebel because I did start my book a week before Nano, and I will finish the book a week before Nano ends. But, unofficially, I'm still nanoing, and I do love, love, love NaNoWriMo. You may have heard me mention that on the show before. And that's about it. I would love you to listen now to Jay Thorn and to us just having way too much fun just hanging out and talking to each other. So I hope that your writing week is going smoothly. I hope that the election has not upset your brain too much, has not pushed you into a migraine. I hope that you're getting your work done, getting your words on the page, and producing some mighty fine crap, because crap is what we revise later. So enjoy the interview with Jay Thorn. Okay, well, I'm so pleased today to welcome Jay Thorn to the show, How Do You Write? Hello, Jay. How are you?
Doing great, Rachel. How are you?
Good, good. Let me give you an introduction to people who might not know you yet. Jay Thorn has published over 1 million words and has sold more than 170,000 books worldwide. He's an official active member of the Horror Writers Association and a member of the Great Lakes Association of Horror Writers. Jay is a contributor to disinformation.com and a staff writer for heavyplanet.net, as well as a founding board member of the Author Marketing Institute. He earned a BA in American History from University of Pittsburgh and an MA from Duquesne University. Is that how you say it?
That's correct.
Okay, it looks like Duquesne, but Duquesne University. He spent the last 20 years researching mysticism and the occult in colonial American history. Welcome, Jay.
Hey, thanks.
I've heard you on podcasts, you've heard me on podcasts, but this is the first time we've been chatting. So
yeah, we've exchanged emails over the years too, and this is, I don't know, this is good.
We were in Simon's writing group, I think, both of us, and
yeah,
that's cool. Well, let's dive right into your process because I'm eager to hear about it. You write a lot. What is the best time of day for you to write?
Absolutely, first thing in the morning.
Like, what does first thing mean to you? Is that...
For me, well, I have a day job, and I've had a day job since I started writing. So what it means is like 4:30, 5 a.m.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it's hard, but once you make it a habit, it gets easier. But the real reason behind it is it's really hard for me to write with any sort of distractions. I can't really get a lot of work done in a coffee shop. So at 4:30. My kids are still sleeping. My wife is sleeping. The neighborhood is quiet. And I get a good hour and a half of writing in first thing.
I did that for so many years, and it's amazing how many words you can get in 1 hour. And for a while there, all I had was 50 minutes. And it just stacked up. The words just stack up. And where do you write? Are you in your office right now? Is that?
Yeah, this is like my attic office. It's the third floor of an old home that's about 110 years old. Oh. And I when we moved in, I finished this as sort of a workspace, and so it's nice. I have a little separation from the family, but I'm still within the house, and it works out well. I enjoy it.
Are there any ghosts up there?
Not that I'm aware of. I might make some, but I don't think there's any up there right now.
And how do you write? Are you longhand, computer?
Oh, computer. My handwriting is awful. I don't handwrite anything.
Not even like notes when you're
I'll do
ideas?
Yes. Sometimes yes. I have a little notepad I keep in my pocket, and although I've found some great voice apps now where I can just sort of dictate ideas into my phone.
What apps are you using?
There's one called Smart Voice Recorder,
really?
And it's like a simple. I have a Samsung, so it's a simple like single tap and it just records, so I don't have to fumble around with a lot of stuff.
That's a great tip because I use an Android and I need something simple like that.
Yeah, it's definitely it's nice and simple, and sometimes I'll even use like a Google Doc and it'll and try and use the voice recognition, but then I have to spend time trying to figure out what I was saying. So,
exactly.
So I just capture it in audio. That works out pretty well.
Have you experimented with dictation with Dragon or anything while you're writing?
I've tried, and like Joanna and Zach both keep telling me how, and they're making me envious. They tell me how many words they dictate, and I've tried like 4 or 5 times, and I can do it, but then I end up spending so much time right after I dictate cleaning it up that it's almost like a wash.
Me too, and I actually committed to it for an entire book.
Wow.
And honestly, it was good. It did feel like I was going faster, but the cleanup was so excruciating to me that I just haven't gone back to it. But at least I know I can do it if I ever, sprain a wrist or whatever. What program do you use when you write?
When I'm first drafting, it's all Scrivener, and although it depends if I'm collaborating. Like Glenn James and I use Google Docs, so that's good for collaboration. And then once the first draft leaves Scrivener, my editor takes Word documents. So then it moves into Word, and that's kind of where it stays until it's done.
Yeah, me too. How do you refill your creative well when you're running draft?
I like to consider myself more of an artist than just an author, and so you can see I got my guitar back there and stuff. So I'm a big into music, always have been. So playing music, writing music, that strangely enough, that's still an output of creativity, but it sort of refills the author side.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also like podcasting, like still creating stuff, but sort of in a different medium, in a different way. That helps refill it.
Can you tell us about your podcast? Because I just learned about it and I'm definitely going to subscribe.
Yeah, thanks. It's called The Intronaut, a podcast for introverts. And it's not just for introverts. So it's really sort of an NPR style memoir kind of thing. It's really about my experience as an introvert and how I've learned to cope over the years and some of the stories I have. So it's really about my experience. And like I said, it's not necessarily just for introverts.
Do you pre-write the shows or are they off the cuff?
They are totally off the cuff. I come in with a topic and I come in with maybe a few bullet points, and then I usually record it in one take. Like I want it to be really authentic and sort of real. And I feel like once I start scripting stuff, it saps some of the energy out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. What is the worst writing advice you've ever been given?
I really have never been given bad advice, and the reason I say that. Let me qualify because I can see the look on your face. You're like, what? What I mean by that is I firmly believe that we are just this constant evolution of experience, and then wherever we are, it took whatever we had to go through to get to it. So even if it's quote unquote bad advice, I feel like it's something you can learn from and something that you use moving forward. So, and that being said, like I never got like really, really terrible advice. I may have gotten some advice, that wasn't altruistic or like was self-serving from someone else, but it like in the end, it was never something that I regretted, and it kind of helped to make me who I am today.
You did say when we were chatting off air that we are a lot alike, and I really have to agree with you. That is one of my main beliefs in life is that all the good and the bad get us to this place, and we've survived until right now where we are, and that's just awesome.
Absolutely.
So, cool. What secret writing tip of awesomeness have you discovered the hard way?
Well, I'm not afraid to admit, I've admitted this before. I launched a few books early on without an editor.
Oh, God.
Right, I know. I can laugh about it now, but it was not funny at the time. I have this long story where back in 2012 in the Kindle Gold Rush, I had a book that kind of got caught up in the free algorithm and was like downloaded like 35 or 40,000 times.
Nice.
And this was a book I didn't have edited, and I got skewered about it over it. So
what did you do? Did you just pull it entirely?
No, I just fast tracked an editor and I got an edited version up as quickly as I could, but
Nice.
I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, so I learned the hard way that no matter how good of a writer you think you are, you still need an editor.
Absolutely, 100%. But I will say the thing that I say in classes, I don't normally say it on the air, but I do believe that if a person is at the place in their life where they have written a book, they don't know if it's any good and they honestly can't tell, I don't think there's anything to be lost from putting it up under a pen name and seeing what happens.
Yes.
Because if you can always pull it under a pen name.
Right.
You've learned, because a lot of people do think it's, this is the best thing and I don't need an editor. Well, try it, see what the reviews say. But just do not ever, for listeners, don't ever put out a paperback version. Once you put out a paperback version, you can't pull it. It will always be up on the markets because they can't guarantee that it's not going to show up at 8 Books or some online vendor later on. So
that is a great tip.
Yeah.
And I've learned that the hard way as well.
God.
Like,
Yeah,
our Amazon pages are littered with things that I would rather not be there.
Yeah. Our lives are, right? Our lives are littered with those things. Can you give us a quick craft tip of some sort?
Yeah, this is I'm a big fan of the Story Grid, Sean Coyne's Story Grid. Him and Tim Grohl do a podcast. It's called The Story Grid. And I started out as a pantser and now I'm more towards the middle, and the Story Grid's been fantastic. And one of the things that sort of came out of that is because I write first thing in the morning, the last thing I do before I go to bed is I put a few bullet points into the document for the scene I'm going to write the next morning. And I just let my brain sort of like chew on that overnight, and then when I come in the morning, it never fails. Like there's always something there.
Oh, that's so great. That's when you thank yourself,
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter if you don't write in the morning. It's just like you there has to be some space between like when you bullet point the scene and then when you write it. And if you can do that, even if it's during the day, your mind will be working on it, even though you're not thinking about it.
Do you ever forget what you bullet pointed? Because recently I went back to my journal because I was like, I don't know what to write next, and I'm sure that I'm so dumb I didn't even think about it. And I looked in my notes, and there was the next plot point, which was brilliant. But I don't think I could have come up with it a second time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I guess if I put a bullet point in there and it was like a week or so would go by, it might not make sense. But for me, because it's the next morning, it's still kind of fresh.
Yeah. You have a stronger brain than I do. On really bad days, if you couldn't do your day job and if you couldn't write at all, what would be the profession you would choose?
I think I would be a toll booth attendant.
Oh, I've always wanted to be one of those.
No way. For real?
For real. I almost wrote a book about it. One of my best friend's mothers was a toll booth attendant on the Bay Bridge, and I went to interview her. I just think it has to be the best job.
Yeah, I mean, see, we're so in alignment here.
Soul twins.
Because I'm thinking with the writer's brain, it never shuts off.
Never shuts
off. Ever. There is no day off. It's just constantly going.
And then what do you want to do though? You want to people watch.
Yes. You want to meet, you want to talk to people, you want to watch their mannerisms, and for me, I just want them in short doses.
Yes. The introverted, just hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. You're an asshole, goodbye. You're an amazing person, goodbye.
And then you clock out and your job's done. And I don't know, maybe toll booth attendants go home and they're thinking about the tolls that they did that. I don't know, maybe they are, but I doubt it.
Oh, and you know what? And they always seem so unhappy, and I've never understood that.
Well, some of them, I've pulled up to some, on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which I have to drive to visit family in Pittsburgh. There's a set of toll booths, and it's like a party. They have music that's blaring out, and you pull up, and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" That's pretty awesome.
That's the best. Okay, I'm gonna steal that for my answer. If anybody ever asks me that, I want to be a toll booth attendant too. Okay, and this is a new question for my podcast. I'm stealing it directly from the Rocking Self-Publishing podcast with Simon. But if you were starting over as a new writer today, what advice would you give yourself?
I would tell myself that to know the genre conventions inside and out. And that was something I did not do. I was an artiste, and I'm going to write my own damn story, and it's going to be unique, and I'm going to be a special, unique, snowflake. And the problem with that is readers don't know what to make of it. And if you can't identify the genre, if someone asks you and you're like, well, it's sort of a this mixed with a this mixed with a this, a reader has no hope of figuring out what that is. And that's okay. If you're writing as a hobby or a creative outlet or a passion, that's fine. But if you want to market it, it's really hard. Yeah.
And your readers have to know. They just know in their heart what to expect. They couldn't verbalize it either, but they know if you don't hit it.
And even if you want to break the conventions, that's fine, but you have to know what they are first, and you have to know sort of which ones you can break and which ones you can't.
And the nice thing is there's so much information about that right now. If listeners, you are panicking and you don't know the genre convention, think about what you're writing and Google that plus genre conventions, and you'll find out. The list will be there.
And if reading in that genre, you probably already know.
Exactly. You already know. You just never actually articulated it. Exactly. Okay, Jay, what would you like to plug right now? What would you like to tell us about?
Yeah, I have ADD, so I always have
Me
a million.
Me too. Diagnosed as a child, re-diagnosed 3 years ago. Yeah.
There you go.
Emphasis on the H, on the hyperactivity, ADD.
Hyperactivity, yeah. I'm always chasing stuff. Ooh, that looks cool. Oh, that looks cool. So because of that, my main website is jthorn.net, and then the Intronaut podcast is theintronaut.com. So
can you spell Intronaut? Is it INTERNAWT?
It is THEINTRONAUT.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, Intronaut.
Got it. Okay, Jay, thanks so much. What a treat it has been to talk to you.
It's been a real pleasure. Thanks, Rachel.
Okay, enjoy your writing.